They're 40-year-olds. They're not young royals.
Well, and
they're different now. The vibe is different. The whole mood and shift will now.
The downfall of Prince Harry has been nothing short of spectacular, plunging from the glittering heights of royal privilege to the humiliating lows of financial desperation. And now comes what many are calling the most catastrophic chapter yet. Reports claim Harry reached out to one of his former closest friends, David Beckham, with a request so outrageous it left Hollywood stunned. A staggering $50 million loan. Yes, this is the same Harry who once proudly boasted of financial independence from the crown. The same Harry who, alongside Meghan Markle, vowed to build an empire of his own. Yet today, he's being portrayed as a man so strapped for cash, he's reduced to begging celebrity friends just to keep himself afloat. But the most humiliating twist? Beckham, who once stood proudly beside Harry and Meghan as an ally, didn't just decline, he flatly refused. And that rejection has now become the latest scar on Harry's public image, a humiliation he can't escape.
Go on to George, Charlotte and Louis, and they will become really, frankly, bit part players. Now, they won't like that. And that's probably what this is all about, making sure they've got a presence.
It's starting to feel like an endless string of public embarrassments for the Duke of Sussex. The cracks in Harry's finances have been widening for months. Behind the glossy facade of Montecito mansions and private jets, the reports tell a much darker story. Declining revenues, soured media deals, and whispers of looming bankruptcy. Spotify axed their $20 million podcast deal, and Netflix has reportedly gone cold on the Sussexes' projects, with insiders claiming the content simply isn't delivering. Add in Meghan's extravagant spending and Harry's refusal to scale back, and the so-called Sussex empire looks less like a dynasty and more like a castle built on sand, buckling under its own weight. So when rumors of Harry's bankruptcy finally broke in the press, insiders weren't shocked. They saw it coming.
It's a brand to monetize, because pretty soon they're going to be really so far removed from the main game, they're not going to be able to get as much money out of being royals.
I think Valentine Lowe wrote that in his book, didn't he? Or I seem to remember.
What did shock insiders wasn't the bankruptcy whispers. It was just how desperate Harry's next move turned out to be. Instead of seeking a practical solution, refinancing assets, cutting expenses, or bringing in smaller investors, Harry went all in. Literally. He approached none other than David Beckham, a man with a global fortune and unmatched influence, with an audacious request, a staggering $50 million personal loan. The sheer size of the ask left even his closest circle stunned. To put it into perspective, $50 million isn't just a cushion. It's the kind of sum that restructures an entire lifestyle. It's a bailout figure. And for Harry to turn to Beckham for such an astronomical amount speaks volumes. It's a sign of just how dire his financial reality has become and how far the Duke of Sussex has fallen.
Val writing about saying that Harry did have fears that he might, become irrelevant into his 50s, and they're making a huge noise at the moment.
Yeah.
But he undoubtedly will. He'll be a bald 50-year-old prince that, a gentleman, someone formerly known as.
But Beckham wasn't having it. Insiders say the football icon didn't just brush Harry off politely. He flat out refused. For Harry, the rejection was a crushing blow. Beckham isn't just another celebrity. He was once seen as a trusted ally, a glamorous bridge between the royal family and the glittering world of global stardom. So for Beckham to say no isn't just about turning down a deal. It's a symbol. It screams to the world that even Harry's most famous and long-standing friends no longer see him as someone worth backing, financially or reputationally.
Prince, that's what he will be. And that will be not the same as they talk about, he's got an appeal with the younger generation. Well, they'll be thinking, who is this guy? They wouldn't even know who he is.
I think it's also trying to kind of make things a bit more positive.
Of course, Beckham's rejection wasn't some random moment. It was years in the making. The Sussex-Beckham friendship had been hanging by a thread for a long time. And the breaking point? Meghan's alleged accusation that Victoria Beckham had leaked private stories to the press. Insiders say that rumor left the Beckhams furious, putting an icy chill over what was once a warm, high-profile bond. So when Harry came knocking, hat in hand, the refusal wasn't just about money, it was the culmination of years of mistrust, simmering resentment, and bitter disappointment. Beckham's no wasn't a casual brush-off, it was the final nail in the coffin of their friendship. And now comes the most damaging fallout of all: perception. The image of Prince Harry himself, rejected, diminished, and left standing without the allies he once relied on.
Some journalists in America who were saying how we love a kind of boy or girl done good. And the fact that for Harry and Meghan, for a very long time, a lot of the stories have been negative and around, well, we felt badly treated by the royal family.
Once a soldier, a royal, and a global symbol of rebellion, Harry has now been reduced to something unthinkable, begging his celebrity friends for financial lifelines. To the public, this isn't a man bravely fighting for his family, it's a begging prince, scrambling to stay relevant and solvent while his brand crumbles before their eyes. Headlines now compare him to fallen aristocrats of the past, while memes mock him as Harry the Borrower. Commentators go further, branding him the most expensive liability in all of Hollywood. The humiliation is total, because losing money means losing power, but losing your dignity in the process, that means losing everything. And if Harry thought David Beckham's blunt refusal would remain a private embarrassment, he was gravely mistaken. It's now a public spectacle, and the whole world is watching.
And certainly with Meghan, look, with the twerking video and her really kind of owning her social media, I think you're seeing that kind of, right, I'm going to be more upbeat, I'm going to be positive. And we're sort of waiting for more of that, I think, from Harry.
But then, of course, they're already ahead of.
In Hollywood, nothing stays hidden for long, and this snub didn't just slip out, it exploded. The rejection spread like wildfire, racing through celebrity circles, boardrooms, and social media until it became the defining story of Harry's financial unraveling. In Los Angeles, reputation is the only real currency, and the Whisper Network is ruthless. Once word leaked that Harry had approached David Beckham for a staggering $50 million loan and been flatly rejected, it stopped being gossip and turned into a cautionary tale. Producers, investors, and celebrity financiers began murmuring about Harry's instability. The logic was brutal. If Beckham, the golden boy of global celebrity branding, wouldn't back him, then why would anyone else?
The game on this, the Sussexes, because they're doing their branding for their two children. She's writing a diary entry every night to Archie and Lilibet. I wonder what that's for, the diary of Archie and Lilibet. I don't know, it's a nice book. But they know that
they weren't seen as power players anymore. They were seen as liabilities, toxic assets, a couple whose name no longer promised a return on investment, but instead carried the risk of embarrassment. The whispers quickly turned into hard, unavoidable questions. How could a man born into unimaginable privilege, who once secured multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify, end up teetering on the edge of bankruptcy? Critics didn't need to dig deep for answers. The sprawling Montecito mansion, the constant private jet trips, the bloated PR teams, the endless legal bills. Rather than building a sustainable empire, Harry and Meghan seemed to be burning through cash with reckless abandon. Even some of their most loyal supporters began to wonder if their loud cries for financial independence were nothing more than a smokescreen for disastrous money management. This wasn't about bad luck anymore. It was about bad decisions.
those two will be, and they've got all their branding around that, they will be something that they will be able to monetize. And unfortunately about the Sussexes, I just call them H&M, because I don't believe they should have the title, is all about the money. And of course, the reason we want...
For Meghan Markle, the optics couldn't be worse. Her entire Hollywood strategy has always been about projecting influence, glamour, and control. She wanted to be seen as a tastemaker, a cultural leader, a woman with undeniable power. But the Beckham loan saga has blown that image to pieces. What's glamorous about begging for $50 million? What's powerful about being turned down flat by a former friend? The narrative Meghan has spent years carefully constructing collapsed in an instant. Instead of a Hollywood power couple, she and Harry are now mocked as out-of-touch celebrities who can't even manage their own affairs. And then comes the sting Harry must feel most: the palace's quiet vindication. When he and Meghan stormed out of royal life, they promised to achieve financial independence, free from the crown's control. They painted the royal family as restrictive, outdated, and obsessed with hierarchy. Yet now, with whispers of looming bankruptcy and a desperate plea to Beckham exposed, the royals don't need to say a word. The facts have spoken for them.
There's a lot of this, and let's not be too cynical. Yes, he wants a reconciliation with his father. His father has a finite time on this earth. There's a lot of money to be distributed, and I'm sure that's a conversation that needs to be had.
So we asked, ultimately, should the king remove the Sussex's titles from Harry and Meghan? And 91.
With Hollywood gossip now branding him a liability, Harry has done what his critics always predicted, proven them right. The royal family didn't have to lift a finger. Harry's own actions vindicated them. He walked away to escape the monarchy's financial system, only to end up begging his celebrity friends for bailout money just a few years later. Behind palace walls, you can almost picture the quiet satisfaction among courtiers. The boy who craved freedom has learned that freedom is expensive and merciless. And this isn't a fleeting embarrassment, it's the kind of scandal that clings forever. When the public looks at Harry today, they don't see a decorated soldier, a philanthropist, or even the rebel prince he once branded himself to be. They see a man stripped of his dignity, scrambling to survive, and publicly rejected by one of the most respected names in entertainment and sport. The begging prince, the fallen duke, a living cautionary tale, and in Hollywood, that reputation is lethal.
Percent said absolutely.
I agree with
Wow,
that.
that's
You agree with that,
I
Rob?
agree with it.
Do you?
Yeah. I think because I think they've disobeyed the HRH and they've flaunted that. They're now talking about, oh, I'm Meghan Sussex. Well, you're slightly, taking the mickey out of the royal family. You want it out. You wanted to.
Perception is everything, and once your name becomes tied to desperation and failure, doors don't just close, they slam shut and lock. The Beckham loan saga may mark the exact moment the Sussex brand stopped being controversial and simply slipped into irrelevance. And here's the sting Harry won't want to hear, because while Beckham's rejection was humiliating enough, the public's reaction has been far more brutal. Social media has erupted with ridicule. Memes now label him the begging prince and Harry the borrower. On Twitter, one viral post cut straight to the bone. Imagine leaving the royal family for independence only to end up bankrupt and begging Beckham for $50 million. On TikTok, users are stitching Harry's old speeches about financial freedom with the news of Beckham's refusal, mocking him with captions like, "Freedom costs more than you thought, huh, Harry?" Even longtime supporters who once sympathized with him are now openly questioning his judgment.
Have something to contribute to the culture. And these two have nothing. I think it's very telling, by the way. This sounds sinister, but you can't put anything past these two. I think they knew that the axe was about to drop from Netflix. And I think it's no coincidence that they're
Netflix subscribers are even piling on, leaving brutal comments under "With love, Meghan promos, maybe if the show wasn't so boring, you wouldn't need a bailout." The verdict is clear. The audience isn't just disappointed anymore, they're laughing. And in the court of public opinion, laughter is deadlier than hate. So now the questions fall to you. Does Harry's desperate plea for $50 million prove just how deep his financial collapse really goes? Was David Beckham right to slam the door in his face? And could this be the true beginning of the end for the Sussex brand in Hollywood? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't hold back. I'll be featuring the boldest takes in my next video. And if you want to stay locked into every twist of this saga, from Meghan's Netflix humiliation to Harry's desperate cash grabs, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and smash like so this expose reaches the world. Because here's the reality. Harry didn't just lose money, he lost dignity, reputation, and the final thread of credibility holding his Hollywood dream together. And once you've become the punchline of your own downfall, there's no coming back.